Hello and welcome back to the MLB DFS Slate Breakdown for Monday, September 3rd. We're into September. It is the week that NFL starts. It is big week here at LineStar, and I can't wait for you to come join us for only $39.99 per month. It gets you access to everything we do. All the props, all the DFS, you get it all. One low price, all the sports we cover, the props, the best ball, the DFS projections, you get it all. Let's get into it. We got a lot to cover today. We are obviously doing the best ball or baseball now, but we have some NFL shows coming out. We have our normal prop shows. We got it all. It's a big week here at LineStar. Now, let's get into the perfect lineups before we get into today's slate. And no surprise, perfect lineup. We got Joe Musgrove, who just went absolutely nuts yesterday. Had a game. Went 6 Ks, no earned runs. 6 innings, no earned runs, 8 Ks. Then hitting-wise, we had a 2-man Minnesota stack and then one-offs for the perfect lineup. But the winning lineup went to Mo the Tucker, 110K. He had Musgrove. He had Shane Bangaliers, who just banged out 2 home runs. 3-man Yankee stack and some one-offs got it done for him. Pretty interesting lineup construction. He won with a 0, which just doesn't happen that often, but congrats to you, Mr. Tucker. And now let's get over to DraftKings, see what we got over there. We had Musgrove, we had Cole, and then we had 2-man Minnesota and more one-offs with the winning lineup going to one-word plastics, won by almost 3 points. They had Musgrove, they had Cole, they had a 4-man Minnesota stack, 2-man Padres, and then a one-off of Horner and Langoliers. Langoliers was really the one you needed to have yesterday after hitting 2 home runs. So congrats to them. Now, let's get into today, see if we can get a takedown of our own. Starting with our highest owned pitcher on the slate today is Carlos Rodon, 25%. Rodon's been pitching very well lately, and that strikeout rate has finally came up to more of what we expected from years ago when he was dominant. He has a FIP of 3 over the last 5 starts, 28% K rate. I got to say that I like him in this spot. He does have a FIP of 4.2 over the last 20 starts, so hasn't been quite as good over the long term, but the short term he's been really dealing. The big issue here is that he's averaging 39% less fantasy points when away. Now, the Texas Rangers have not been very good versus lefties in the short term. Over the last 20 games versus lefties, they're only hitting 202, have a 106 ISO, and a K rate of 21%. So I'm definitely interested in some Rodon in this spot. I don't love that he is the highest owned pitcher on the slate, but I'm going to have some of them. The one, piece of data here that is a little scarier, there's really 2, is he's allowing a ton of fly balls and a decent amount of hard contact, but he's kind of got beat up by Texas in the past. 46 plate attempts, they're hitting 286 off him. Now, I got to bring this up, is that most of that data is all old. 2018, 2016, he got blown up. Outside of that, he's been good. And what did he do this year versus him? 5.2 innings, 6 Ks, no earned runs. So I do like the spot for Rodon, and I'm definitely willing to have some of him. Next, we got Paul Skeens, 9,800. His prices came down. The one big thing I got to point out about Paul Skeens here is, look, we all know he is an amazing pitcher, but I worry about him a little bit. The reason being is there's been a lot of talk about them watching his workload a little bit. They were regularly letting him go over 100 pitches or be right around 100. They're out of the playoffs now, and 87 pitches, 82 his last time out, 93 the time before that. So I think what they are doing, and they have talked about, looking into maybe monitoring his workload. I think they are just trying to cut down his pitch count a little bit. I don't think we're going to see 100 pitch outing from him unless he is just absolutely dealing and he's working with something special. He had a couple, potential no-hitters this year, and they took him out for pitch count reasons. So even in a special situation, they still could take him out due to pitch count reasons, but that's the only way I see him getting to like 100 pitches. If not, I think 85, 90 is probably his max, and most likely it's under 90, more in the 85 region, but that is my big worry with him. You take the pitch count worries out, and he obviously looks great in this situation. We have no real idea what they're going to do with his pitch count, but I want to put that information out front and center so you guys can figure out what you want to do with that. On the other hand, while it is a decent matchup for Skeens, the Cubs have been hitting very well lately, so that is the one other reason you would not want to play Skeens. ISO of 200, 356 WOBA over the last 20 versus right-handed pitchers. So they've been hitting the ball well. I don't mind playing some Skeens on DraftKings. I can tell you on FanDuel, where that quality start bonus is there, I'm out on Skeens. I think the pitch count's a little too worrisome for me. Next, we got Luis Castillo versus the Oakland A's. Castillo just has not been the stud that we're used to out of him over the last, over this season, really. 4.33 FIP, 4.6 over the last 5 starts. His K rate at least is up to 30% over that span, so it's given him a solid floor, but that FIP is a little scary. And the A's have been hitting really well lately. Over the last 20 games versus righties, 280 average, 224 ISO, 362 WOBA. It's not a team I really want to pick on right now. They're just, frankly, hitting the ball well. And I don't love the spot for Castillo, who has struggled a little bit this year and is averaging almost 38% less fantasy points away. Plus, has gotten beat up by Oakland a little bit in the past. Next, Chris Sale, 10.8K. Look, I am shocked that he is not far and away the highest owned pitcher on this slate. We have a epic chance for Chris Sale to just hammer home his Cy Young chances on this slate. The guy has been pitching absolutely amazingly. 1.72 FIP over his last 20 starts, 1.05 over the last 5, and you're talking about having a 33% K rate in a great spot versus the Rockies. Give me the Chris Sale. I don't care if he's high owned. This spot is amazing. There's huge upside, and if Sale wants that Cy Young, this is a great spot to just hammer home those numbers and really get it done. Put an exclamation point to his Cy Young possibilities. And frankly, he is my vote right now for Cy Young, at least in the NL. Tanner Bybee, 8.2K, 2.3X versus the Royals. This is a big-time series. These two teams are fighting for the playoffs or for the division, really. Bybee has been very good this year. 3.49 FIP, 27% K rate. Over the last 5, the FIP is a little higher, 4.11 and a 22% K rate, but he has faced the Tigers, Minnesota, Milwaukee, Texas, and the Royals. So very solid offenses. Now, he does have the Royals, who are solid offense, and at home where they hit better. So I don't love the spot for Bybee. However, 8.2K is too cheap for him. We have him at 2.3X, so I'm going to get some of them. And I'm fine with getting some of them because of how good he has been on the season. He's a little lower ownership too, so I'm okay with going there. He's had good games versus KC in the past, just not great games. We're gonna just need him to step it up a little bit, give us 20 plus, and I think he can do that in that spot. Next, we got Ryan Nelson. This is another guy that's been pitching very, very well lately. 3.63 FIP over his last 20, 3.64 over his last 5. Now, those last 5 come with a 27% K rate. Very interested in Nelson in this spot versus the Giants, who haven't been hitting all that great versus righties. 203 average over the last 20 games, 172 ISO, 283 WOBA. So they're hitting the ball hard, but they're not getting on base. And that's the big deal here. Nelson may give up a home run or two. However, as long as they're solo shots, it's not going to hurt him too much. I'm very intrigued with Nelson. We have him at 2.5x. He's only 7.2K. He's in a decent spot. I'm totally in on him at, low ownership. I think he is probably one of the better value plays of the day. David Peterson, lefty versus the Bo Sox. Now, Bo Sox aren't good versus lefties. So that's a big thing. I'm very intrigued with Peterson in this spot. It's also his 29th birthday, so happy birthday, good old D. Peterson. The Red Sox striking out a ton versus lefties, 27.6%. They have a ton of lefties on their team, and over the last 20 games, 210 average, 138 ISO, 271 WOBA, just not good. So I'm absolutely in on, throwing a little bit of David Peterson out there. Now, his upside isn't that high, and for that reason, I'm not going to have a ton of him, but for a value spot, I think you could do worse. Chris Bassett, 7.4K, 2.3X. It's another spot that I'm a little bit interested in. This guy, when he has good games, they are very good. He has, high 20s, 30-point upside at 7.4K. And the Phillies have struggled a little bit as of late. Bassett's also done decently versus them. So I'm a little interested in this, but it is a tough spot, and I think it's going to be a hard game for him to really get one of those ceilings. However, who has he had ceiling games against this year? Boston, Baltimore, the Yankees. He's had ceiling games versus some pretty good offenses. So when he's on, he can get it done no matter who it is against. So a little interest there. Walker Buehler, super, super cheap. He's been pitching terribly, but he is cheap. That's the only reason I'd consider him. Savali, I'm not really in there. However, had a really, really good game versus San Fran last time out. He gets the Cards, who've been hitting a little bit better lately, but he is super cheap. Value play, so slightly intrigued here. Andrew Heaney versus the Yankees. For the reason that it's against the Yankees, it makes me a little scared to go that one. I don't know if I really want to go there. Pretty much everybody else here, I am not really considering. Reed Detmers, finally back in the majors. He is versus the Dodgers, though. But he's super cheap. We have seen Detmers have a giant upside. He just ends up spiraling out of control and sucking for long periods. But who knows if he has it back together for this start or not, but it's versus the Dodgers. I think that is a pretty volatile spot as far as a Dodger stack or not, because we've seen Detmers come out of spring training and whatnot just looking amazing, has all the confidence, then he starts getting beat up a little bit, loses that confidence, and just starts getting shelled. So this is a spot that he could come out decently, but I'm not going to try and go there. Just want to talk about him a little more in case you do for your Dodger stacks. If you want to go against him, really is my deal. All right, over on to Fanduel Pitchers. Highest owned is Chris Sale. By far and away, this is my favorite spot, and I'm going to have a ton of him. Luis Castillo's next. Paul Skeens is after that. Now, I talked about Paul Skeens a little bit. For the reason of his pitch count, I am probably out on this one. Can he go 6 innings in 85 pitches? Yes. He is good enough to do it. But I just think that it is going to be hard for him. And for that reason, I'm just not really going to go there. I think he is getting a little too much ownership for me. If his ownership drops big time, then I start to get intrigued by it. Tanner Bybee, 8.7K. I'm definitely a little interested here at low ownership versus the Royals. It's a very tough spot for him, but I think he can get it done. And Carlos Rodon, 9.6K at, super low ownership, I'm absolutely in on. As well as Ryan Nelson. I think he is a very interesting spot. And Chris Bassett, but Bassett is definitely a bit more scary to pick on. I don't love that Nelson is almost at 9K here, but we still have him at 4.0 X value. So I'm in on it. I think it's an interesting spot with very, very low ownership. And outside of Chris Sale, then if you want to get wild, there's David Peterson on the bottom. I'm absolutely intrigued by him. It is his birthday once again. My only worry is that his K rate is so low that we do need him to work 7 innings to be able to put up 40 plus, which we likely need in this spot. So now let's get over to DraftKings, get over some stacks, and see what we can dig up here. All right, so our highest owned is the Los Angeles Dodgers versus Reed Detmers. Now, this is the thing about Detmers, and I got to bring it up, is that he has shown the ability to be very, very good. Now he's getting called from up from the minors where he's been for a little bit to get his confidence up, to figure out his stuff again and come back up. He's coming back up. If we get the good version of Reed Detmers, I don't really want to stack against him. If we get the bad version, I really want to stack against him. So ownership is going to play a big role for me in how much of the Dodgers I want. If they are super, super high owned, if they're 100+% owned on a 10-game slate, I'm going to step away from them a little bit. If they come in a little lower owned, then I'm going to try and have a little more of them. So that is how I'm playing the Dodgers in the spot. Detmers can be good. The numbers that we see here on the screen aren't good, but there's, years of evidence in small sample sizes he can be very good. Our highest projected, Dodgers, no surprise. Yankees versus Andrew Heaney is popping up. Yankees can absolutely crush that handedness. So definitely intrigued with some Yankees at a little lower ownership. And then our highest value plays, we got it all over the board. Angels versus Walker Buehler. Buehler's been awful. Makes a ton of sense to try and go there. They're super low owned. Buehler's been bad. I'm definitely going to have some of that. KC versus Tanner Bybee. I don't love the spot. I think Bybee is good enough at least to get it done, but these Royals prices are low and they can score fantasy points in a lot of way. Cleveland versus Singer. Singer's been really good at home, and a 2.93 FIP over his last 5 starts doesn't really make me love going there. Toronto versus Tyler Phillips. Why not? FIP of 5. They haven't been great, and the Blue Jays have been hitting pretty well. So definitely intrigued to go there a little bit. And our highest ceiling plays, we got Yankees, we got Oakland, we got the Cubs. Cubs is interesting because Skeens has been so good, but what if Skeens gets hit a little bit early? He's on that 80, 85 pitches, doesn't work deep in the game, and you get a lot of the bullpen. Makes some sense to go there. Oakland versus Castillo. Castillo hasn't been great. Oakland's been absolutely crushing the ball, so definitely some intrigue there. Now, checking out the teams, our highest implied run total is the Dodgers at 5, with Toronto at 4.8. They are right there, going way less owned, so very interesting. Atlanta versus Kyle Freeland. Freeland, which we nicknamed Free Bomb for a little while, isn't great. Bullpen behind him is bad. The Braves need to bounce back after a tough series versus the Phillies too. Yankees 4.6 versus the Rangers. And look, between the first and the fourth implied run total, you're only talking about a 0.4 run difference. So you can absolutely get off the Dodgers. They are not in a good enough spot where you need to be slamming them. Milwaukee 4.4 versus Steve Matz. Mets versus Cutter Crawford at 4.4. Seattle versus JT Ginn at 4.4. All of them are interesting. You get into this Cleveland and KC game, and I think that's a good one as well. Philadelphia at Toronto versus Chris Bassett. Now, I said I like Bassett, and I do, but we also have to understand Chris Bassett's range of outcomes. He can get crushed, he can give up a ton of runs, or he can look like a Cy Young pitcher. And for that, even though I want some Bassett, I don't mind playing some Philly stacks, especially with how bad the Toronto bullpen is behind Bassett. The bullpens we really want to pick on are Colorado, Texas, Boston, the Royals, and Toronto. And, I mean, Pittsburgh too. But that's a little bit more of a leverage stack because Paul Skeens is going to keep the Cubs low-owned. But if they get hit, it starts to look pretty interesting. So that'll do it for us today, guys. We got a lot of content coming with NFL starting this week. Come join us. Please like, comment, and subscribe to all our videos. Helps a ton. Have a good one, guys. Bye.